Hello there. Britain is braced to find out exactly which tax mechanisms our uber-rich former banker Prime Minister will use to screw us over with. Now, if you haven't already done so, please do subscribe and then like and comment below. Rishi Sunak has waltzed into number 10, and no one seems to have any idea what his plans really are, other than having us face the difficult decisions he says he will have to make. But as he's just confirmed Jeremy Hunt in the post of Chancellor, I think we may now be seeing a direction. But it does seem like calm has settled over the nation as Rishi takes his seat in number 10. The markets are steady, with the pound up against the dollar and the euro. Although the dollar is under pressure due to the sharpest slump in US house price growth on record. But as an aside, get this, the dollar slid because annual house price growth in the US went down 2.6%, from 15.6% in July to 13% in August. Has there been a US Brexit? Actually, the blame is being put on the Fed raising rates too quickly. But surely 13% house price growth in a year is still far too high. And this is why governments don't like house prices going down and will do all they can to prop them up, and even put rockets under the property sled. Anyway, although the FTSE 100 has taken a dip, the FTSE 250, which is more representative of the UK, is up 2%. Now, Sunak has no end of people advising him to do this, that and the other. Like Liz Truss laying out the approach she would like to see him take in her farewell speech. And John Redwood in the Telegraph talks about a low tax agenda to get members on side. But in his first speech as Prime Minister, Mr Sunak sent out a warning. He will place economic stability and confidence at the heart of his government's agenda, meaning there are difficult decisions to come. And further, he said, the government I lead will not leave the next generation, your children and grandchildren, with a debt to settle that we were too weak to pay ourselves. Strange to use the phrase, your children, when he has two of his own, and he stressed the word, your. I thought it was normal in political speeches to sound like you're one of us by using the word our. Anyway, that seems to be one line laid down, dealing with the nation's deficit and debt. But that means cuts to services and/or tax rises. But no one seems to be sure about which services and taxes are in the firing line. Except defence. As always, that's definitely on the table. Rishi Sunak has already effectively told the members of the Tory European Research Group that. And a couple of other likely targets are the state pensions triple lock for the second year running, and of course benefits. Will they rise to match the cost of living increases? Now, one Tory MP may know more about this than the rest of us, because Tobias Ellwood, the MP for Bournemouth East, tweeted out, "The free market experiment is over. It's been a low point in our party's great history. The reset begins. Time for centrist, stable, fiscally responsible government offering credible domestic and international leadership. Honoured to be the 100th Tory MP to support #ReadyForRishi. What does he mean by the free market experiment is over? And his use of the term, the reset begins, should be ringing alarm bells across the nation, as it's a WEF-inspired term, part of the Build Back Better mantra that we keep hearing across the planet from the great and good. Anyway, Ellwood has, I believe, subsequently deleted that tweet. But is he really a Conservative? As Mark Dolan said on GB News, the mask has slipped, and so has the halo. And the really big question is, has the Tory party morphed from Thatcher into Blair Light? Is the big state, borrow, tax and spend here to stay? Well, Rishi's speech strongly suggested that at least the borrow bit of the big state might be off the table. So maybe Elwood's tweet was more about himself than about anything that Rishi is up to. But if Sunak wants to keep the red wall on side and keep filling the voracious belly of the NHS, then it's either cut all the other services or tax his wealthy mates until the pips squeak. Unless he really does know where the magic money tree is planted. The problem is that a 5p in the pound increase to the top rate of tax to take it to 45p for the highest earners is ready to go. As is a 6% rise in corporation tax to take it from 19% to 25% for profits over, I think, 50,000 quid. What's he going to do? Increase those further? He did say difficult decisions were coming, but he hasn't indicated who those difficult decisions will affect. Whose boat will he be rocking? That of the wealthy corporates and banks, or that of the relatively defenceless citizen? Rishi did say he would approach this cost of living crisis with the same compassion as he did with the pandemic when furlough payments were made to many. But many were also left to rot, remember. And a few managed to fleece the taxpayer good and proper and will, as far as I can tell, get off scot-free with billions. But it will be the financial markets that will dictate the rate at which our recovery takes place. And writing in the Times a couple of days ago, Ed Conway outlined why that is. Basically, the whole financial money-making system is set up to work within a low-interest, government intervention-heavy environment that punishes savers and rewards debtors, sovereign and citizen debtors alike. And fancy financial instruments that make money in that environment but that implode when interest rates rise litter the place. And these have to be unwound to protect the markets before we can see a recovery. The people need a fast recovery. The markets do not. That's why Liz Truss's scheme failed, it seems. And I fear that Rishi will gear any recovery around the glacial needs of the markets. In fact, he may have to do that due to the massive £2.5 trillion in debt the nation has hanging around its neck. And as an ex-finance type himself, he probably knows where many of those financial instruments are buried. Now remember that the Rishinomics plan is to squash inflation first. That means taking the money out of people's pockets so they can't buy much more than the essentials. It means controlling benefits, keeping wage rises down, and taxing people and businesses to keep demand down, and getting rates up to reward savers and discourage spending on the plastic. So get the hair shirts out, because all I can see is a hefty dose of austerity coming down the line. When are the engineers turning up to fit the swimming pool into the number 10 garden, by the way? Then the taxpayer can pay to heat it.